He rode up on a bike with a gun.
I put my hand on his chest to try to stop.
Wiping away tears as she tells the jury how she called 911.
Where in his body was he shot?
Man, if you know like I know, you know Hutch's jewelry is always plastered on Instagram on your motherfucking favorite rapper. I mean, you know, they coming out of Detroit, right? Where they come with them Cardi buffs with the diamond buffs, you know what I mean? You know, I feel like they was the ones to really get them motherfuckers popularized, you know what I mean? Hutch's jewelry, you know what I mean? I be seeing all kinds of people with those. Everybody go to Hutch when they want to get those, you know what I mean? Them diamond motherfucking Cartiers. And I always want to get some of those motherfuckers, but I mean, I think now, you know, they just a little too much, especially for some everyday shit. But, you know, you pull them motherfuckers out right there. That's a pretty penny right there just sitting on your face, shining, right? But, you know, the case behind Hutch's murder is crazy, though. This ain't just no like regular, you know, just you know, he got killed in a parking lot, or, you know, somebody tried to run in the store and shoot him. No, this ain't that type of story right here. This story right here is deep. It runs real deep, and it goes to show you, right, how evil mankind is, right? Like the evil that men will do, because the person that knocked him off, right, was an attorney. The attorney that he got for his own will. To, you know, and your will is how if you die, how all your belongings and business and equity and all that good shit, how that shit will be given out to your family members, your loved ones, whoever it may be. Now, his attorney that he hired, that he found on through a friend of his or however, right? This is the dude that ended up getting him knocked off with 3 other cats. So he done penciled himself into the man's will so he could inherit all the shit without this man knowing, got his signature on the documents and all that shit. But, you know, attorneys are slime balls, though. You know, it always trips me out, right? That you go pay all this money to a motherfucker, and usually it's like a older white motherfucker, nose in the air, you know, or, you know, real arrogant type of cat, right? At least in my experience. And you go pay these motherfuckers $250, $300, whatever it is, an hour, right? For them to understand you, right? You got to pay them that, and then they gonna go argue for you in front of the judge, right? The court of law. They gonna argue. They get paid all this because they know the rules, right? They know the rules of the law, and they can argue that and articulate it to a judge. That's why they make all that money. But they be the biggest scumbag pieces of shit ever. You think about it, because all they doing is trying to develop how they can best lie in front of somebody else and make their story sound eligible. And I get it, motherfuckers is criminals, and that's what they be doing. That's what they want. But I mean, shit, at the end of the day, if you really trying to really think the truth will set you free in a court of law, fuck no. That system is set up to fail you and me. You know what I mean? But yeah, this story is a trip right here. I ain't gonna keep ranting on this. Let's go ahead and peep this out real quick.
Disgraced attorney Marco Bisbikis blows a kiss to loved ones in court, the alleged mastermind of a plot to kill his own client, popular jeweler Dan Hutch Hutchinson. The accused gunman, Roy Larry.
Roy Larry is the person that actually pulled the trigger.
Prosecutors say that's Roy Larry on the e-bike that he and his cousin Darnell Larry had just picked up from the bike repair shop on June 1st, 2022. A witness takes off after the shooter as the Denali with Dan Hutch Hutchinson and his wife Marisa rolls to a stop across from their pawn shop in Oak Park. She calls 911. Marisa, who was hit in the leg, is screaming her husband is dying.
He fires 14 rounds into the truck.
The prosecutor telling jurors Roy Larry fired at point-blank range. 6 bullets hit Hutch. 1 is fatal, piercing his heart. With Marisa right next to him, she's wounded.
Roy's mission is to kill both of those people.
And prosecutors say it was this man, Marco Bisbikis, who orchestrated that mission, getting friends and employees from his pot farm, Angelo wrapped topless and Darnell Larry, to do the dirty work, enlisting Roy Larry to do the shooting. Roy Larry was arrested right away, but prosecutors say there was much more to the story, a story about greed, betrayal, and murder.
This jewelry store sold very expensive jewelry, pieces that went anywhere between $5,000 and $75,000. Very expensive jewelry.
Prosecutor Mike Krasinski says the jewelry store was grossing $21 million during the pandemic, laundering cash for customers, which was then being laundered by their attorney, Marco Bisbikis, who prosecutors say had written himself into their will and trust and then arranged to have them killed.
The case is one in which relies almost entirely on the government's and the people's two informants.
Bisbikis attorney James Thomas noting Angelo Raptopoulos and Darnell Larry are testifying against their co-conspirators in the case.
You're going to see that the story of Darnell Larry evolves over time.
Another potential problem with the case, the officer in charge admitting he faced disciplinary action for meeting with Marisa Hutchinson at a bar after hours.
Was any of that conversation that you had at this bar with Miss Hutchinson inappropriate or of a sexual nature?
Not at all.
But the attorney for Roy Larry telling jurors there's another issue.
The firearm that was used in the shooting never recovered.
Prosecutors, however, say the security video and defendant's own phone records will tell a tale of conspiracy and murder.
I would do anything for him. I know he would do anything for me.
Angelo Raptopoulos testifying against his godbrother, his closest friend, attorney Marco Bisbikis, with whom he had been accused of murder, assault, and conspiracy in the death of Daniel Hutch Hutchinson, life felonies, before agreeing to testify against Bisbikis to avoid a life sentence.
Most difficult thing I've ever done.
Are you hesitant to do it?
Absolutely.
Do you love him?
Yes.
Okay. And did you always feel loyal to him?
Of course.
Which is why prosecutors say Raptopoulos agreed to help Marco Bisbikis. They say Marco lied to Angelo, told him he and some powerful associates on the East Coast were in danger of being indicted because of Hutch, and that the Oak Park jeweler and his wife had to be taken care of.
For Hutch to die.
To die. And that's to prevent him from testifying?
Correct. I didn't want to see them die, but I didn't want to see anything happen to Marco.
At the time, Raptopoulos was working at Marco's pot farm in Grass Lake with a man named Darnell Larry, a convicted killer who had done his time and now had a young family. Raptopoulos testifying Marco said to keep his name out of it, but Angelo and Darnell stood to make $100,000.
I told him that I got information that Marco's in trouble, and if there's money to be made, if he wants to get involved.
Prosecutors say Darnell Larry, who, like Raptopoulos, has cut a deal with prosecutors, then enlisted the help of his cousin, Roy Larry. Roy Larry was the alleged triggerman on June 1st, 2022, but prosecutors say Marco Bisbikis was behind it all. Not because Hutch was going to get him indicted, but because Marco was Hutch's attorney and was in Hutch's will and stood to inherit millions in laundered money from the Hutchinsons' high-end jewelry business. Raptopoulos testifying even after Hutch was murdered, they decided to offer money to find potential recruits to kill his wife Marisa, who had survived the shooting.
She was probably the only actual witness.
Gun bullet holes in my husband's chest. And he was bleeding out of the top one. And I had put my hand on his chest to try to stop. And I was trying to hold the back of his head.
Heartbreaking testimony today from the wife of well-known local jeweler Daniel Hutch Hutchinson. She described her actions the moment she realized he had been shot in their car near his Oak Park jewelry store.
I heard pop, 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 pop.
Marisa Hutchinson says she didn't know what was happening until she saw that her husband, Daniel Hutch Hutchinson, had been shot.
Bullet holes in my husband's chest. He was bleeding out of the top one.
Trying to hold back the tears as she testifies about what happened to them on June 1st, 2022. They had just left his nearby office when the shooting happened. Marisa says she then had to go to the hospital and identify her husband's body and tell their daughter Marley that her father had been murdered.
She said, "Who's gonna walk me down the aisle?"
Marisa realizing hours later that she was also wounded. Bullet fragments had hit her leg.
It felt like it was burning.
Jurors were shown her injury as well as the Rolex watch and diamond jewelry Hutch was wearing when he was murdered, including the diamond chain and memory pendant with a photo of his deceased father. Earlier, Marisa testified their jewelry business was bringing in $30 million a year during the pandemic, and that they weren't reporting millions in cash to the IRS. So their attorney, Marco Bisbikis, hatched a plan to help them launder it, storing it in a cabinet, setting up a trust, and paying off their expenses, convincing them to invest $2 million in a horror film that he was in.
Did you know what the name of the film was?
It's called Skeletons in the Closet.
Who was supposed to be in the movie?
Cuba Gooding Jr., Terrence Howard, and Marco Bisbikis.
Marisa says Marco Bisbikis even wrote himself in as the beneficiary of their will and trust if they died. They didn't even realize it.
I don't think we entered this thinking that the two of us would die.
But prosecutors say after Hutch was murdered, Marisa hired a private investigator. She also needed her money from Marco to pay off an Escalade and property taxes. He owed her $2.4 million. She didn't get it, and by then she knew Marco Bisbikis was involved in her husband's death.
My family was staying really close and keeping a watchful eye. The ones closest knew that Marco was involved, and we had to keep a very tight lip about things at that point.
The trial resumes on Monday. In Southfield, Amy Lang, Fox 2 News.
All I can do is shake my head at that shit right there, because you think about this, like, look how corrupt all this is just for money, though. Like, all these plans went into effect, right? This man lost his life, she lost her husband, motherfucking, these dudes is all gonna go to jail, all three of them, for a long time. Some of them may not even make it out of prison. And you think about all this was done for money, monetary gain, right? They came into this world, this life, you know what I mean? And the ultimate goal out of life, you know what I mean, was to acquire more money. You look at this attorney, you look at him, he looked like a fat slug, like a piece of shit. He just looked like a big piece of shit. You know what I mean? When I look at him, he just looked like a big piece of shit. But he was gonna break the law, right? Help launder the money, you know what I mean? So everybody can make money, but he wanted more money. He wanted to keep it to himself. He didn't want to, you know what I mean? All this behind money. So Hutch definitely in the wrong, right? You got a professional business, an empire, so to say, right? Hutchins is like the name, you know what I mean? The notoriety, you know, that name Hutch right there just carry weight like Gucci or Cartier or some shit, right? And he traded all that off for faster monetary gain by laundering money. And I didn't know that part. You feel me? Like that was I didn't know they was actually, and she told on, I mean, the wife of Hutch said that on the stand, right? She said they was laundering millions of tax dollars through the attorney and through the store. So ultimately they doing some shit that's illegal already. And for that, they open themselves up to a world of trouble, because if a motherfucker ain't gonna stand on what he know is right, and he's able to bend and fold for some paper, some money, some shit that you can rip up, throw away, and put in the trash and ain't got no value no more, but for that money, right? For that money, boy, the Bible say a man will transgress against his brother for a piece of bread. So for that money, the millions of dollars right here, look, he done had his god brother set up this whole scheme right here, and he lied to his god brother. So one lie goes to another lie, goes to another lie, goes to ultimately destruction, right? So he tell his god brother he gonna get knocked off for some issues that they got going on, and they don't want this guy to testify against him, and not knowing that the man just don't want to pay back the money that these people done gave him already. They gave him 2.4 for a horror movie, to make a horror movie. You know what I mean? Like, dude done wrote himself in the will and some more shit. But boy, that tells you how ugly it is. And this man, the killer, right? The one on the e-bike, he got a new family. He already got a murder case, right? He done got out, did his time. And here he is for a little bit of change. He willing to take that risk. Now that little family he got, throw that shit in the trash. They did this shit for $100,000 each right here. That shows you, you know what I mean? $100,000. They thought knocking this man off right here. Now look, you got a motherfucker making YouTube videos about how motherfucking stupid your decisions is while you about to go serve the rest of your life in a motherfucking concrete cell with a bunch of motherfucking men around you 24/7. Your family out here gonna be needing help, providing for them. Ain't no man in the household. Your kids gonna come thinking, who the fuck is dad to a degree, right? You know, all this shit is bad. It's all spoiled. You feel me? All spoiled for the dollar. And it just shows you how corrupt motherfucking mankind is, boy, because closest motherfuckers up on you right there. Look, they orchestrated this man to leave his office. The man Hutch had just left the attorney's office, went to his pawn shop, which is another business he owns. So they definitely already had bread. They just needed more, right? They needed more money. And here he is getting knocked off in the parking lot. His wife gets shot. Motherfucking, this dude goes down the street. He gets popped. He's motherfucking arrested. He done, now everybody telling on each other, trying to get better deals so they can get out sometime sooner. You know what I mean? Like, this is just a terrible situation right here. And I just think it's the ugliness of mankind for what a motherfucker will do for $1 though. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. You think this shit is crazy or what? Am I the only motherfucker that think this shit is crazy and shit? Man, I apologize. Last week, I got that motherfucking strike from YouTube, so I couldn't upload like I wanted to. And we getting down to the last week of May. So once again, top commenter, you get the $50 at the end of this month. Let me know who you is, getting them comments. And if you made it this far in the motherfucking video, hit your boy one of them likes. I greatly do appreciate that. And shit, to the next one, I'm gone.